Hey my bros and lady bros, this is LaughNapkin. If you're here for the Tinder story in the thumbnail, you can skip to the third story at 8:20, but I wouldn't recommend it, as all three stories are from r/ProRevenge and are super juicy, and I guarantee you will love them or your money back. But wait, you haven't spent any money. Anyways, if you haven't already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Go hit that button. You won the work. No you didn't. Help me! I worked for an events hire company. We supplied everything from AV to display stands, fencing, staging, etc. So there was this organizer that was looking to host a beer and wine festival. We had multiple meetings and I provided far too many quotes and prices. But eventually it paid off and she signed to work with us. Fast forward about 2 weeks later, I've had little contact from her, which was very unusual. Out of the blue, she emails me saying that she found a cheaper supplier at almost half the price. She proceeds to say that we're ripping her off, and if we didn't void the contract and return the deposit, she would take legal action. Our prices were very fair and competitive with our main competition, so this really didn't make sense at all why it would be so insanely cheap. Now, I've had this happen before, and in my experience, it's best to just let organizers go, tear up the contract, and return the deposit. If you force them to work with you, it becomes an absolute nightmare and just isn't worth it in the long run, as you have to work with these people for months at a time leading up to the event. The event was still quite a while away as well, so I was confident I could fill up the spot with another organizer. Anyway, it's now 3 days before the festival opens and I get a call from the organizer. She says, "Hey, you have to help me." I say, sure, what's up? She says the supplier has arrived to install the equipment and it is unusable. The marquees are ripped, displays can barely stand up, and they didn't bring any AV. It's a disaster. I say, okay, before I go back to my team, are you needing everything we quoted you right now? She says yes, everything. I go back to my team, and although we had a bid on, we agreed we could supply what she needed in time, but would naturally need to charge premium because it was late as heck and meant serious overtime. We didn't want to do it, but pulling her out of this crap would have made waves in our industry and bound to get good words in the right ears due to the festival size. So I call the lady back and say, I have great news. We can get down there later this afternoon and we'll work non-stop over the next 2 days to get this done for you. She says, you are a lifesaver, thank you all so much. I say now we will require 90% payment upfront and you can pay the remaining 10% after the install is complete. I will also send an invoice now, but please know the invoice will be a larger amount than before, approximately 30% more due to overtime and just being late. Pretty standard for an event this size. You can guess how the mood turns now. She says, but we had a contract. We have a set amount, you need to honor that. I say, you made us rip that up and threaten a lawsuit if we made you stick to it. Those are the prices now. No other company in this city would be able to deliver what you're asking at this late notice, regardless. The price is the price, you can take it or leave it. She says, this is crazy. We had a contract. Throw some nasty words my way on how we are useless and gonna get sued. So I tell her you have 2 hours to let me know if you want to move ahead. Otherwise, this will not be available. Goodbye. So she never called back and went ahead with the other supplier. This festival was a disaster. She had also charged independent mobile food vendors and retailers to be at this festival and charged them premium for each spot. The vendors constantly lost power, water, and had zero support during the show, so they naturally took her to court for their money back as they lost money attending the festival. She was ordered to pay back all the businesses that had purchased a spot at the festival through court order and lost her business because of this. Then tried to sue us and blame us for the entire catastrophe, but that didn't go far. Before you say it's sad that she lost her livelihood, first, she should have canned that event there and then. It doesn't take an expert to see that this was in no way going to be successful. Secondly, we find out through industry people that she has done this before and gotten away with it. So forget her. She tried to personally sue me as well, which didn't go far either, but wasted a lot of my time. Girls shouldn't compete in math competitions, so my son should win. I'm a high school student and this happened to me in the 9th grade. My teacher decided that I should compete in a math competition because she saw potential in me. I agree because she was my favorite teacher. I didn't really care that much because I was kinda lazy at the time. On the day of the competition, I saw a kid, let's call him Entitled Kid, boasting about how he didn't sleep because he reviewed everything. I was annoyed, but I didn't really think much of it. The results come in, sure enough, he won. But I got 2nd place. I was shocked and happy at the same time, and so was my teacher. Everything was all sunshine and rainbows until I heard this lady, we'll call her Entitled Mom. Entitled Mom says, "Good thing that girl didn't win. By the way, I was only 2 points behind. This is a math competition, my boy should win. He studied really hard for this and a girl shouldn't beat him." I was livid at what she said. My teacher patted my back and told me not to listen to her. When they announced that I was in 2nd place, Entitled Mom started booing. This woman, I couldn't even take it. So I devised a plan. This competition happened every year according to my teacher. And in grade 10, there was a regional competition after. I swore that I would win next year. The whole year I taught myself various math equations and my friend helped me with everything. I spent a whole year reviewing just to prove the entitled mother wrong. The next year I entered the competition more ready than ever. I saw the boy again. Now even his mother is boasting about how he couldn't sleep knowing that he was gonna win again, and that he is excited about the regionals. Everything she said just encouraged me to do better. The exam was kinda hard, but I managed to answer most of the questions. While I heard Entitled Kid say it wasn't that hard, I was not confident that I would win, but I was hoping. The announcement came, and they said only one got a score of 40 and above in every grade level. The Entitled Kid was smirking, thinking it was him and telling his mom, "Regionals, here we go." But to his surprise, I won. The look of shock in Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid's face was worth it. They didn't utter a word. His teacher was standing there shocked. I gave them a big smirk and went up the stage, accepting the prize and everything. When I went down the stage, I saw Entitled Mom crying and saying, "My boy was supposed to win. He was supposed to go to the regionals." And once I heard her cries of agony, the whole year of reviewing math was paid off. I got 2nd place in the regional and I became friends with the guy in 1st place. Overall, it was a great experience, and I'm glad I don't have to see Entitled Mom and Entitled Kid again because there is no math competition in grade 11. My ex-girlfriend was a scammer, so I put her in the slammer. Bippity boppity boo, I destroyed her family too. Man, I just love the title of this one. Around the time that I got my first full-time job and finished college, I decided that I was ready to venture out and start dating. I had heard about this amazing app through a few of my coworkers, a little thing called Tinder. So I decided to give it a shot. After about a week on the app, I finally matched with a woman who we will call Talia. Talia lived in a different city than I did, but the day we matched, she said she was visiting a cousin. We messaged through the app, and after verifying she was real through her Facebook and Instagram profiles, we exchanged phone numbers. She said she was employed full-time, had an apartment and her own car, and was somehow still single. We talked for about 2 weeks on the phone, always at night after my shift at work. Then, we finally had a chance to meet when our schedules matched up. I drove my beat-up 1996 Honda Civic to her town, spent the Friday night with her, and in the morning we had breakfast at Waffle House. Talia did have her own apartment, however, she lived next door to her grandmother, who I awkwardly had to meet in the next morning. I learned from Talia that the car was actually in her grandmother's name and her apartment was in the name of her cousin, quote unquote. She went so far as to show me family portraits with her quote unquote cousin and to talk about her abusive ex. She even shared with me how her laundry room was embarrassingly infested with flies and roaches. We officially changed our social media to dating that day. Keep in mind that this was my first relationship in almost 4 years, so I was excited. The scam. Talia also told me that day that she had been fired from work about a week earlier, but was too embarrassed to tell me. I asked how she had been keeping up with her bills, and she said that her grandma and dad had been helping her. Talia asked if I could help her make her car payment, which was due that weekend, and I refused. She then explained that she could get a payday loan, which was banned in our state, and put it into my checking account. I felt pretty uneasy about it and asked if there was another way she could get the loan. Talia said that she couldn't use her grandma or dad's account because they had burned her in the past. I thought it was a little weird, but then she started to cry. So I called my bank where I had an account since high school graduation and opened a linking checking account. I gave Talia the new checking account number and routing number. Talia contacted a payday loan company in Alabama, and by Sunday morning she had the funds in my linked checking account. Per our agreement, I gave her the money. Talia promised to repay the loan in 2 weeks. I had my reservations but went back home and back to work Monday. Talia called me Wednesday and said she had a new job. I asked if she had the payday loan squared away with her first paycheck. She said she did, but I still got charged $47 2 weeks after she set up the loan. I called my bank, called Talia to verify the loan was going through her, and terminated the charge from the payday loan as I was not the signed person. Talia and I agreed to meet Memorial Day weekend 2 days later. She stated that her dad had given her a check for the entire loan amount, $1,800, and she would deposit it into my bank near her. Like a fool, I let her deposit the check right before Memorial Day weekend. 2 days later, the payday loan company charged another $47, plus penalty fees, and another $47. The $1,800 check bounced. Talia stopped answering her calls and blocked me on everything. I called my bank and informed them that I was a victim of fraud. Within hours, my main checking account, into which my paycheck had gone, my savings account with $800 saved for a new car, and the new checking account were closed. My best friend from college, we'll call him Clark, found Talia had 2 of every social media account. The one she shared with me, and the one on which she had a boyfriend. Her quote-unquote cousin from her family photos was actually her boyfriend since high school. Talia was 22-23 years old. Her boyfriend, we'll call him Jason, was in prison, but from their social media posts, she was visiting him once a month minimum and had plans to marry him. I spent days trying to get my accounts and my money. One of the representatives from my bank and Clark and my mom advised that I should press charges for fraud. The bank mailed me a copy of the bounced check for the criminal investigation purposes, and it showed Jason's name and not Talia's father's name as the owner of the check. That's when I decided to get revenge. The revenge. As I mentioned before, Talia's apartment had a minor infestation of roaches and flies in her laundry room. While I went through legal agencies to pursue pressing charges of forgery on the check, fraud, etc., I found the name and phone number of Talia's apartment complex. I left a message for the apartment complex management that Talia and her grandmother both had filthy apartments. Within a week, Clark showed me that Talia had posted a request for temporary housing for her and her grandmother, since her parents wouldn't let her move in. That's when Talia's payday loan company began calling me, as Talia had given them my number instead of hers, and they had not received payments yet. I was still reviewing my legal options at the time. One day, I answered and notified the rep that Talia had fraudulently used my checking account. The rep who called me transferred me to their legal department, who was very interested. It turned out that Talia's grandmother and her father owed to the payday loan company as well. It wasn't a lot of money separately, but the payday loan company had enough evidence with my claim that Talia was the ringleader using her family's accounts. I turned over my evidence, including Talia's text messages promising to pay, the copy of the bounced checks, and my bank statements. By the end of the year, Talia was arrested on several charges. Her grandmother and father were also arrested but took pleas for lesser charges in exchange for turning over evidence on her. I didn't have to testify at trial, but I was kept informed. Talia's grandmother had had a minor heart attack when she was arrested and had a more significant one during the trial. I'm not sure if her grandmother lived or died after the trial. Despite this, Talia went to prison for multiple counts and will serve more than a decade behind bars.